before then, we had the East African Examination Council, and when the defunct East African community broke, Kenya had to make its own examination body, which is NEC. And before East Africa, we used to deal with Cambridge, which was being run by our colonialist, the British Cambridge system. That's what we used to do. So since NEC was created by an act of parliament, it is mandated to develop exams following the curriculum and the policies made by the Ministry of Education. And after that, they are supposed also to register the candidates who are supposed to sit for these examinations. And it is actually basically charged with dealing with the basic education and up to tertiary, where we also give TVET courses, that is business and technical exams. In the process of making these examinations, there are strict mechanisms on how the test papers are developed, and once they are developed in a very strict and confidential way, and the NEC strives to ensure or ensures that these examination papers do not leak before the time of the examination. And when it comes to that, we are supported by the government. When it comes to storage, we engage the Ministry of Interior, we work together, and the storage facilities are situated at the sub-county or sub-county commissioners. That is where they are, and the storage facilities are manned by administrative police 24/7. So when we talk of that, and even during the distribution, it is NEC officers who are involved in escorting these vehicles to take these materials to those facilities, and they are also escorted or supported by our National Police Service. So when they take these materials there, they ensure they are intact, and the packing materials are also have got security features, so that if they are tampered with, somebody can easily be able to tell. So once these materials are there, they are only opened the day of the examination. And come 2016, they used to be picked by supervisors, but come 2016, we had a lot of reforms led by the late Professor Magoha, and now the head teachers or the principals of the schools were tasked to go to the container, we call them the container, the storage facilities, which has a multi-opening level. One key is the DCC, and the other copy is the Sub-County Director of Education, to ensure none of them can access this area before the other one. And then now the teachers are given, the head teachers and the principals are given these materials in the morning, and they check. So once they go to the schools, we ensure also we have supervisors, we have invigilators, and we have security in the examination centers to ensure that malpractices are not happening. But when there are mechanisms to investigate and find if there was any malpractices, including collusion even inside the examination rooms, and once it is established beyond any doubt that a candidate was involved in malpractices, the results are cancelled. So to answer you, moderator, NEC does not condone, and the society also does not condone. And when we hear a conversation, for instance, where the parents are telling a principal to cheat so that the children can pass like the ones who are cheating, let us say when a candidate is caught cheating, NEC does not tolerate that. And even we have multiple layers, including the Ministry of Education, who sit in that panel that determines that these cases have been proven beyond any doubt that the candidates were involved in examination irregularities, and once it is established they are cancelled. So those who get their results are the ones who have gotten them in a deserved way, and that is what they have. So I think to that area, that's the much I can tell you.
Thank you so much, Madam Judge. Mr. Ombati, what are the forms of modus operandi that are prevalent in academic and professional qualifications fraud?
Thank you, Nimrod. The chairman and CEO and distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I am a career prosecutor. And let me say, as a prosecutor, I want to quote the quote by the current Justice of the Supreme Court of the US, Justice Sonia Sotomayor. She served as a prosecutor in the Department of Justice of the United States. And she said one time that a prosecutor, as a prosecutor, my work is to ensure or is served when a guilty man is convicted and an innocent man is not. That is our work as prosecutors. Now, you know, I am one of those officers, perhaps that is the reason why I am here, who come through the files that come from ESCC, word by word. My boss, the DPP, cannot do that. But I'm one of those officers who come through those documents, files, exhibits, word by word, and we generate a brief. And the things that we see in those files tells of a society that has gone to the dogs. That one I can tell you for sure. You know, let me tell you, currently we are having files that have people who have forged masters, degrees, certificates, diplomas, KCSE certificates, and some even masquerading as owners of certificates of their brothers and sisters. That is how rotten we've become as a society. Let me give you one example without even going deeper into the particulars. An institution has a person who has been working with them for a period of time. And this person, within a period of 2.5 years, presents a certificate, a diploma certificate, and a higher diploma certificate from the same institution. My question is, where have the HR people gone from our institutions? Aren't we supposed to do due diligence for sure? You know, in our institutions, and all of us can confirm here, that we have sometimes promoted people with papers and left competent people. We have over-glorified papers at the expense of competence. That is our problem. And as I finish, currently, as was explained by the CEO, we have cases where prosecution is ongoing. We also have cases where we've referred for further investigations to be carried so that we can seal the gaps as we go to court. And we also have cases where we are exploring, all parties have requested for a plea bargain. They return the route, all the salaries they earned, the money they earned from the institution out of the fake forged certificates. In return, we don't take them through the full process of trial. Must we go through all this, really? Let me ask you and ask ourselves, must we go through all this when we have, actually, there is no government institution that does not have a full-fledged HR department. Must we spend money prosecuting people when we can avoid all this? I hope, Nimrod, I will have another opportunity to talk.
Yes, you will. Yes, you will. Asante sana. Let me move on to FCPA John Okolol, who is also the Director Ethics and Leadership. As we all know, they say corruption fights, sometimes it fights so hard. This is a form of corruption. It's fraud. It's a criminal event that people participate in. I'd like to share some statistics of cases, areas such as number of personnel affected, and what professions are we looking at mostly that have been affected by this vice or by this menace? Are we talking about CEOs? Are we talking about CFOs? Are we talking about judges? Are we talking about magistrates? And what have you? Please tell us. And then tell us, when it comes to fighting back, just how much of a hindrance is that to the law in this kind of fraud?
Thank you very much, Mr. Nimrod. First and foremost, let me, as part of the EACC team, welcome all of us to this conference and state the fact that as EACC, as we were investigating these cases, taking people to court, instituting recoveries, we came to a conclusion that this was a systemic problem and that just taking people to court, recovering, was just looking at the symptoms, and we needed to go to the root cause. And that is why we decided that we needed to have this conference. We bring it to the stakeholders, we bring it to the national level, and you can see with the presence of the head of public service, there is no other higher level, national level than that. Secondly, before I come to the other question, to my question, let me just share two insights on the first question you asked the first panelist about how we came here. And the two insights that I want to share, the first one is that I think for quite some time, we were only concentrating on putting safeguards against financial resources and public property. And it did not occur to us that people will become innovative, and therefore I think that is also what has led us to this issue of forged academic and professional certificates. As has been mentioned by the chief guest about the societal values, I think the way we've also gotten here is that many people have engaged in other quick wins of becoming rich through tenders and through other financial malpractices. And I think as a result of that innovation, then people also came to the realization that they can also fake academic certificates. There is no need to go and sit in a medical school for 7 years or to engineering class for 5 years when you can actually manufacture your own documents, get the qualifications, and even get registered by the Engineers Board of Kenya. We have such cases. Now, coming to my question, it's easy because the CEO and the chairman have already given the statistics, but I will reiterate the fact that we have taken about 541 investigations. We have completed about 133. 85 have been forwarded to the Director of Public Prosecutions, and we've also heard that 20 of them have been concluded in court, leading to 13 convictions and 7 acquittals. In terms of the other statistics, we have had people who have come forward because you heard one of the chief guests ask, how do people get acquitted when even the issuing institutions have said their certificates are fake? So even for the ones that we've taken to court, they have actually come to that realization, and as soon as they take plea, most of them write to the DPP, they copy to the EACC and say, we are actually ready to plead to some of the charges, and then we return the funds that we earned as a result of use of forged academic certificates. And towards this, we have recovered, just through plea bargaining, people agree, we have recovered about 14 million. Those that have decided that their cases will continue, we are in the process of instituting recoveries for amounts close to 460 million. And these are just for the cases that we have completed. Now, before I forget, because we have the counterpart from the DCI, there's something important that I want to mention so that as different agencies you are able to know. When PSC released this report last year, they invited EACC and the DCI to the launch of that report. And what we did with the DCI, we said to avoid duplication and also to achieve efficiency, we decided to actually divide the tasks, and we agreed that ministries, departments, and agencies, all the cases for MDS will be dealt by DCI, and all the cases for colleges, universities, commissions, and independent offices, as well as counties, will be dealt by EACC. So, in one time or another, you will find as maybe a ministry, department, or agency, you have referred a case to EACC, but we will forward it to DCI because of that arrangement. Now, coming to the specific questions about where it is rampant, it is across board. We have had CEOs, we have had directors, we have individuals who are working in counties. They were employed as engineers, but their certificates have actually proven otherwise. We have doctors. We have individuals actually who even purport to have qualifications for courses that are not offered. We had a case of somebody who had a master's in ICT from Daystar University, and that course is not offered in that university. So these people are so daring that there is no extent that they cannot go. Of course, it was mentioned that some of them all, if they had a D+, they will give themselves a B plain, go and do a law degree, but eventually what happens is that even the degree that you've taken the 4 years to attend classes, to do all the assignments, to do all the exams, and even attend graduation will be invalidated. Then finally, in terms of issues of, the challenges, of course, I know my sister here from NEC, we've worked closely with her. There are those issues of costs, and I'm happy that the head of public service mentioned about that issue of costs, because when we were having discussions with her, that institution also, that is also their source of income. So because the head of public service was here, it is envisaged, or it's hoped, that probably that conversation will be taken up so that the ministry can maybe consider to add their budget so that either they reduce the costs for authentication or maybe they eliminate them altogether. But for the other challenges, usually of the delays, as law enforcement, we have mechanisms to follow when the people do not give out documents. But there is one trend that we have noted, and we want to urge institutions not to continue in that direction, where as they authenticate the certificates of their staff, once they get the reports, they put them somewhere and do not forward them to law enforcement. But we want to tell you that we are aware of that, and we are also getting those reports, so it will not help for you to keep that report. I think it has been suggested that this is a problem that we all must end so that we can restore integrity and good governance. Thank you.
Asante sana. Thank you so much, Bwana Lokolo. Let me come to Bwana Komesh Abdallah. When we're dealing with the investigations, is it possible to fully eradicate academic and professional qualifications fraud in the country? Given that it's two-pronged. Here we are discussing, say, universities, for instance, giving genuine certificates to students who never completed it, never went to university in the first place, but because they know somebody who knows somebody, they get it. Two, you have people, unfortunately we're discussing this, next door at River Road, somebody printing university certificates and is going to sell them to somebody else. Where do you start combating this vice? At the university level or in the streets?
Thank you, Nimrod. Thank you, Chair EACC, and the CEO, and all the participants. To answer your question, Mr. Nimrod, it has never happened all over the world, or anywhere in the world, where a crime is completely eradicated. It will be reduced. So it is possible to reduce this crime of forgery of academic certificates and professional qualification to manageable levels. However, it requires concerted effort from the community, from parents, from stakeholders, NGOs, the private sector, and we tackle this thing in a multi-agency approach because it requires quite a lot of resources to investigate and prosecute. So we need to embrace the idea of sharing of intelligence. We need to change a culture and attitude, especially from parents. From the incidences that we handled so far, because DCI is investigating more than 500 cases from various government departments and parastatals. Out of that, we were able to take about 50 cases to court. We have more than 100, that is 107, at the DPP, pending advice. We have more than 200 which are under investigation. We have about 20 where the accused are known. It's called Parker. So we are pursuing that. But it requires a lot of resources to collect evidence. Now, this crime is now an organized enterprise. It is an organized crime where we have planners, we have those who finance it, we have the beneficiaries, who will be the certificate holders, we have conspirators. This could be parents. For example, you can see in an exam room, you have individuals who are not students, but they're doing exams on behalf of candidates. So can you tell me that the institution does not know the faces of their candidates, even if they're 500 in number? Is that not a conspiracy between parents and that education institution? Secondly, it is also very difficult to eliminate because it is shrouded in secrecy. Because all parties, at the end of the game, then benefit. The individual will have good grades to enable him or her secure employment or gain promotion. That is financial gain. The person or the cartel who have prepared that certificate, they are paid. There are no free services. So how do we detect this crime? You see, whatever we are investigating now, it is because the Public Service Commission gave a circular to institutions to scrutinize these academic certificates. How could we know that that is happening? We need to get intelligence from these government departments. Now, I can also support Wanaungati that in every institution there are what we call verification procedures. But you can see that these verification procedures are either bypassed deliberately by the HR department to qualify for employment or upgrading. And most of the time, it is corruption, it is bribery, it is nepotism, it is tribalism, it is favorism. These are the key factors. So as much as we are struggling as law enforcement agencies to investigate, prosecute, but unless we become more tough and take action, including dismissal, we have got challenges in investigation because we don't have 100% support from institutions. Some of these managers or CEOs feel that if a person is under investigation for forgery of academic certificate and he has resigned or she has resigned, or he or she has retired, or he or she has been dismissed, that punishment is sufficient. Why are you now investigating? That is sufficient. We have also discovered or experienced instances where institutions cover their own staff. For example, we get a list of individuals who have said to have forged certificates from a certain institution, from the public service. And then when we send this list to the particular institution, they give us another list with some of the names missing. So it is impossible to eradicate. We can only reduce. Maybe I can add something. Just to help Bwana, because you asked him a question which is supposed to be asked the investigative agencies. Modus operandi, styles of doing or committing this particular crime. Making of a certificate, which is totally fake. Altering grades from a genuine certificate to ensure that person qualifies for promotion or employment. Allowing individuals to do exams on behalf of others. Using certificates that belong to your cousin or brother, but you share names. You see, in Africa, we share names. And etc.
Asante sana. Thank you, Bwana Abdallah. Let me come back to Dr. Kande. If we're talking about 30% of this kind of fraud happening in the public service, what would you make of the private sector? And does it scare you?
Thanks again, Nimrod, for that. Absolutely, it scares us. It scares us even more when I listen from my colleague here that it might even be impossible to fully eradicate it. But from my layman, I would think that maybe if we go to our original setting, like the way you refresh a phone, maybe that way, we can also reconfigure our systems, look at ourselves and see what we can do. And getting to a question, 30%, yes, we've seen rounds of statistics going round, and I'd actually also seen somewhere that in every 4 people, one of those, most likely, has a fake certificate. That means 25% of the overall staff that you have, 25% of us here, probably. But anyway, that probably is anecdotal information and might need a bit of research, which may not be difficult because we are employees somewhere. And so if we are really determined, we can actually ascertain this. And probably the best way that we can do is to own the process, maybe right from employers where we are, really checking to see that where we are onboarding any staff, we are certain of credibility and authenticity of that certificate. And so if it is in the public sector, definitely we are in the same society. I want to believe, again, this being a lecturer because we would need that information, that it is also in the private sector, because therein we also have employers. And in fact, you would find that some employers who are in the public service are also doubling up in the private sector. And so I think it is really a mind-boggling figure that we would be talking about, and that is why this candid conversation is really important, because that is why we are calling ourselves, unfortunately, a rotten society. But we are part of that society, and we need to, if we cannot fully eradicate this 30%, we can at least take it to 5%. I want to believe so. Because it is not only affecting ourselves in our own small spaces where we are, from institutional to national, also getting to global, continental, regional, and global context. Because it means that there will be doubt in terms of the qualifications that are going out there. It affects mobility of skills and labor. And as I had earlier said, the interesting thing is that this, again, is a global incident. It is not actually just happening in Kenya. When we speak to our sister countries and share about this conversation around qualifications and people really getting a certificate for a skill and a competence that they can show, you would hear the sister countries also speaking of the same voice in the other countries. And probably that's why we are saying that it is like become part of our DNA. But I want to believe it's something that can be eradicated. Thank you.
Asante sana, Daktari. Thank you. Bwana Mbati, Bwana Chairman, Public Service Commission raised something that is very, very important. That there are people who present certificates and qualifications, and what they have done, what they claim to have succeeded in those qualifications is far away from what their brain contains. Quite scary, isn't it? If we were to have a candid conversation here today, I think 80% of our politicians today would not be elected. Kweli wrong. Kama ni kuangalia tu makaratasi na kulinganisha matamshi, Bwana Mbati. Lakini tatizo liko hapa is that sometimes a lot of these politicians will find an easy avenue, which is running to the courts, putting an injunction into, investigations into their qualifications, where they are to school and what have you. 2027 haiko mbali. You've heard of governors who've even faked documentation that they've worked for a bank or an NGO and what have you, isn't it? So how do we deal with this? How do we have stumbling blocks in the name of courts, perhaps? Are we doing a disservice when we allow politicians, because of who they are, to get away with it? I know it's a tricky one.
Nimrod, you've put me right at the corner. I don't comment about politics in public, but in private spaces I do. Just because of who I am.
We'll close the doors and make it private.
But let me say this with an open heart. A very open heart. And I want to start by blaming the organizers once. That you did not invite the judiciary to this platform to respond to some of the things that are being raised here. Kindly, next time, invite them here, let them respond from this platform. They may not get an opportunity when we talk about them and they don't have a platform to respond. But now, aside from the judiciary, what have we done as institutions? Don't we know of people who have fake certificates, and even institutions have said that they are fake, and yet they are cleared to run for positions in this country? And again, when a politician stands to speak and you hear of mud on top of mud and on top of mud, and we go on and elect that politician, no wonder someone said that leaders are a reflection of the people. No wonder. The kind of people we have elected is a reflection of us, period, nothing else. Because we are not able to vet them as voters out of what they speak. If you are able to promote, and I said this, unfortunately, we promote people who are even incompetent, and it's apparent they are incompetent, and yet we promote them because they have masters. The same scenario happens with our politicians. They speak what they speak just because they are politicians with money bags. We elect them because of values. We don't know the values that we are supposed to have. And let me tell you a sad story I heard from my 12-year-old son. He came home one evening and told me, "Dad, you know that boy we are in class with by the name so and so? Imagine he was cheating in a private school." I support that opinion that was said here, that this rot is from down. And elsewhere yesterday, people are saying things that Mangisi Gedo. We see those politicians, the way they talk, the way they behave, and we also do exactly the same. We don't care, because that is who we have become.
Asante sana, Bwana Mbati. Ladies and gentlemen, I still have a couple of questions for Bwana Abdallah, Madam Jen, and also Bwana Kolol. But I'd like to open the floor now, because I don't want to be selfish with all the questions. And I would like you to direct the questions to the lady and two gentlemen that haven't asked this second questions, so that we can gauge and get the answers from there. Sawa sawa. Tajitambulisha jina, halafu na sehemu unatokea, tafadhali.
Yes, good morning. It's afternoon, sorry. Good afternoon. My name is Harrison Barasa. I've been sitting here since morning, and I think I've also listened to what the speakers have said, including the chief guest. I think there's one of the speakers who I think shot a question which sounded like it was a rhetoric question. I don't know whether it was to be answered by the CEO of the Anti-Corruption, Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, but it was not answered, so I've volunteered to answer it. I think the question was whether the judiciary was invited. So I'll answer the question in the affirmative. The judiciary was invited. The invite was channeled through the chief registrar of the judiciary, and she nominated me. That is why I'm here. So thank you. So the judiciary is here, well represented, and I also want to say, again, flowing from the same speaker, I think it was from Public Service Commission, because we also I want to reiterate again here that the judiciary is a key stakeholder. We are your stakeholders, and I think we've been working so well together. So I want to clear, because that again, Mr. Ombati also said that the judiciary was not invited, and Mr. Ombati, I thought we greeted each other out there. So, yeah, so I've also heard the statistics being shared, maybe of what I just wanted, the clarification I wanted to seek was those statistics maybe across the country, or just statistics from our court here in Nairobi, Milimani. That is 20 cases that were filed, 7 acquittals, and the rest convictions. Maybe that is one thing I would want to have a clarification on. I looked at the invite, the letter of invite, and also looked at the program. So I knew I was not in the program. I was nowhere in the program, so I did not prepare any speech or maybe come up with a clear statistics because as is, the chair, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission said, they were wondering, and in fact from the speakers, they were wondering how a suspect who has been brought to court with a forged certificate can be acquitted. You see, what I can say to that, and Ombati, you say that the judiciary should have been here to defend itself. So let me just defend myself now that the chair raised the issue. There are reasons that are given for any judgment, any decision. From the decision, I think Mr. Ombati here, the prosecution can make a decision as to whether to pursue that matter to the High Court. And my encouragement is that you should never let a matter lie if you feel that the reasons given by the lower court is not sufficient. Because at the end of the day, the laws surrounding corruption and corruption matters and all these issues must be settled. And the only way to do that is to ensure that we pursue these matters to the highest level possible so that we are so clear on both jurisprudence and the law. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you, panel, for this very enlightening PUB session. Now, I have a very perhaps disturbing question. In your statistics, you mentioned master's degrees, diplomas as the places where it's most rife. And this is actually the institutions which actually introduce us to these particular concepts, be it economics, be it capitalism, be it matters on gender. So my question is it a question of bad teachers in our formative years of learning? Because if we don't actually comprehend what you're taught, then comprehending these particular concepts would be a bit hard. Now, if you are to look at me 5 years ago, I was this very shy, recluse person. I couldn't talk the way I'm talking right now. But based on the books I've been reading on my phone, in a matatu, I have a voice. And that actually tells that I'm intelligent to a certain degree. I was at the University of Nairobi, but unfortunately I never graduated. I never graduated because I think I'm ethical. Ethical because I think I couldn't actually have a degree and I don't understand these particular concepts. I actually even took a course in mathematics, calculus, because they say maths is the, basis of all true knowledge. So I took all these courses. So my question is, that particular first question, is it a question of also career guidance? Do people take courses because my friend is taking this particular course, my relative is taking, my neighbor? Do people take these particular courses based on these particular whims of my friend, my neighbor, my partner, or my father? I actually took a political science degree. Back then, tulikuwa tunasema inaitwa baba amenituma, Bachelor of Arts in Political Science. So could you give us answers to this? And this goes to Dr. Alice Kande. Thank you.
Thank you, panelists. I have one question to maybe Dr. Kande. In terms of the existing universities that accredit institutions, is there a requirement that they need to provide information authenticating the certificates? I'm asking that because I come from the Anti-Corruption Commission. You investigate a matter, and this matter, the person is acquitted because of fake certificate, but the court doesn't say the certificate is genuine, but is acquitted for some reason. Then immediately, this is a CEC member, immediately the county has a reshuffle and advertises for position of CEC, and the same CEC member is now recruited with producing another certificate which is fake. As you want to dedicate the course of the degree, you go to a diploma which gave part to the degree. Then you write to the institution which gave the diploma. The diploma, the providers of the degree, the diploma say, our offices were sometimes fondled and broken into, and we don't have information to confirm whether that certificate is ours. Are the providers of these credentials forced by any law or legislation to provide information authenticating the certificates? Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Silas David. I chair the Parents Association of Kenya in the Ministry of Education. I'll begin by saying one is that somebody was asking why investigations take long. Without investigations, you can't prosecute somebody in court. You must have evidence. So we support that investigation must be done. My first question is, if the government can control fake money in this country, which is very sensitive, someone knows that carrying fake money is dangerous. Why should people carry fake certificates and get employment and earn from that? Maybe NEC can answer that. Get to NEC. When students sit for exams, the contract is between the students and the NEC department. It is not between the school principals and NEC. What happens is that after exams, the certificates are given to principals who keep on holding them, forcing students or the candidates to go and now fake certificates to get employment because they are growing old. Can the certificates be given to the students direct so that we understand whether we have different people getting these certificates or they are the same? Parents have been mentioned. It's true. Parents participate in this. But have parents been given education about this kind of corruption? Do they know anything? Even the learners in the classrooms. Have they been told that stealing an examination is dangerous? Has someone done that from the Anti-Corruption Commission in the classroom, going to teach physically and telling the students, if you find you stealing exams, we shall punish you? Not saying that the police will find you. They must understand that anti-corruption is falling behind. So, following this, the channel of parents. Parents are the first teachers to the children. And when they lack information, they are lay people, definitely things will go wrong. A parent will even encourage buying exams. And the exams are even bought from teachers who are professionals. Why can they stop this? So we don't just blame the parents, but now we ask, what really is the cause of all this trouble? Thank you.
I think we get answers for those and then see if we still have time, we can do another one. Please, kindly. Please allow. All right. Madam Jane, I think there was one that was directed to you. Nick?
Okay, thank you, Nimrod, and thank you for that question concerning the issuance of certificates through the principals. Let me say, NEC is not devolved. NEC is in Nairobi, and the establishment is not that big. And NEC does not interact with the candidates one-on-one. And let us remember, when we are talking about KCPE, the last KCPE, we had 1.2 candidates sitting for KCPE, and we had about 900 sitting for KCSE. The logistics of NEC issuing these certificates to these candidates and learners who are not known to NEC is a nightmare. Remember this year, actually, the Minister for Education had given a directive that these certificates be taken to the sub-county directors of education, and the students and the learners go to pick these certificates in education offices instead of going to the schools. Again, when these officers sat and, and looked at the thing, it was again agreed that these certificates might even land in wrong hands because they also don't know these people physically. So as logistics are put in place, on how these certificates can reach the candidates directly without going through the schools. The ones for 2023, because they are the ones which we dispatched last month, actually still went to the schools because all avenues were explored at that particular time, and it became a logistical nightmare. However, that directive is still in force, and between the sub-county directors of education and NEC, we are trying to establish how now in future these certificates can go directly to the students and to the learner instead of going through the school. Yeah.
Asante. Bwana Lonkolo, the other question about whether EACC has the capability of even going to schools and correcting students about cheating and parents and what have you.
Yeah, let me start. There was one by Harrison also which touches on EACC, whether the statistics we've provided to sensitize them on exam cheating and falsification of academic documents, professional and academic. We have an education department that does that sensitization. We also do media sensitization, but this is a challenge to us as EACC because it's also possible that some portion of the population are engaging in these unethical practices because they are not quite aware of the consequences. So that is something that we'll take up as EACC so that we can infuse issues of authenticity of, or rather integrity of academic and professional qualifications to pupils and students in all levels of education, and also find a way of how we can also incorporate the parents. Thank you.
Dr. Alice?
Yeah, thank you so much for that, and I want to ride on that response by my colleague here, responding to that observation by a very good gentleman there, and very confident of you really indicating to us why you decided not to pursue your line. But I want to give you hope, first of all, that through the National Qualifications Framework and the system that we have currently, this is what we also call in recognition of prior learning. That is that competence and skill that you have, and you feel that you may not really follow the formal education and training. We may want to see which institution is ready to assess that skill that you have. So currently there's that provision that someone can be assessed for as long as there are very clear standards and learning outcomes for you to show that you have that skill and competence. And that is a critical reform that we have in this country, and an effort actually to address these issues that we are bringing out here. Because like we began initially saying, that a key contribution to what really led us here was that rush for papers, regardless of, first of all, ensuring and ascertaining that you're giving a paper to someone who really has demonstrated acquisition of a skill and a competence, and what actually the labor market is expecting of that person to show. And so just to speak to that and indicate that maybe later when Professor Kuria will be here to speak to what Commission for Universities is doing, it being a subsector regulator within the university sub-framework, what I would say, in addition to what he will say later, in ensuring quality in what universities are doing, is that from the National Qualification Framework lens, there is that assurance that for any qualification awarding body, like for instance, I talk about the University of Nairobi, Kenyatta University, any other university that is duly chartered or accredited, then for it to be accredited and to be registered in the National Qualifications database, it must have gone through their subsector regulator. And one of the critical things a subsector regulator will check of a program is that, first of all, that it meets the requirements of what is current in the market, involvement of the industry through what we call occupational standards. And that's something that we are really trying to work together with subsector regulators and also qualification awarding institutions to give confidence to these students who are coming to our institutions and to tell them it's not just about talking about 150 programs that we offer, but these are programs that are current, they're of value, that we give you a certificate. It will really help. To the last one about, again, what the existing universities would be doing, that's something, again, a disclaimer that Prof will speak to this, but on our end, on what we do, in mapping qualifications, this is what we call alignment and validation of qualifications, and we get requests, someone has pursued a course and they have a certificate and want to ascertain that it actually falls within what would be a diploma or a bachelor's degree, then we actually get to the root of whether, first of all, was that university accredited? First of all, was that program duly accredited? And that is why we joined at the hip, so that we are really able to give concurred, corroborated information that if that letter that has been issued at higher level, the certificate issued at level 7 was fake, but the one at the lower level probably was genuine, definitely the entire process, all those certificates across for you to get to the highest level will definitely be fake. So that is why we work with all the subsector regulators, right from basic. We have to confirm that for you to really be given that degree, then first of all we need to ascertain that if you followed the formal pathway dealing with NEC, then that NEC certificate was genuine. And so there's a mechanism in place to ensure that that is fully addressed. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll ask a very quick question. My name is Professor Diambo from Ministry of Labor. Sometimes back, I think 1 year ago, when authentication was being done, I was in charge of field service division in our department, and I was in charge of communicating with the field officers, all officers, to authenticate their certificates. And one of the challenges we received, which I want to ask a question on this: who actually should do the authentication? Because in the government system we have what we call GRIS, and all our certificates are uploaded on GRIS. So if, for example, the Public Service Commission wanted to authenticate our certificates, don't you think it is fair for the Public Service Commission, who are the holders of the GRIS system, to go to the system, authenticate the certificates, then come to us? Because if you send, for example, a thief, in quotes, somebody holding a fake certificate, that go and verify your certificate, what answer do you expect? Okay, that is one. Then number two, I also had problems with those who studied outside the country, because some of them had to go up to Uganda to go and verify the certificate. They came back with the letters, those from private universities, Uganda, India, and the rest. They came back with documents indicating that these are this degree is authentic. So how do you gauge that? Finally, just Nimrod, diverting just a little bit from the theme of the day, this is a personal problem. There's also something I think this meeting should also focus on. I've been recently appointed a diplomat. I'm going to one of the countries, and as diplomats we are supposed to process travel documents for our families. And one of the documents to be processed are the birth certificates. So I took 5 birth certificates, one for myself, one for my wife, and for our 3 kids, for authentication. Sorry, not Ministry of Education, to a different office. Surprisingly, all the birth certificates of my children were termed as fake. All of them are fake. And for you to authenticate the birth certificates, you have to pay 500 shillings through eCitizen for them to be done what? To be authenticated. They were all fake. I was a district labor officer in Migori when I was processing the first birth certificate of my kid. And we shared the same compound with the registration of birth and deaths. I was wondering, how could my colleague give me a fake birth certificate? So just yesterday I received this, because I was advised we cannot do anything, you have to process new ones. So I now have 2 birth certificates for all my kids, which they have used in KCPE, KCSE, they have used to secure ID cards, they have also used them to do or to register for university. So they are there in records, and they have been termed as what? As fake. Now I have this one, this kid is in Form 2 at Nyabururu Girls. How am I going to replace this certificate I got yesterday with the ones which are termed as fake? So as we deal with the professional qualifications, I think we need to have a system which is genuine. I work in this government, but I think we need to have a system which is genuine. So maybe the chair will talk about this later on. It is not for the panel. The panel can respond to the other questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Valid point indeed. Valid point. Well, may we take one more question and then we wrap this? Because I'm being mindful of time. We have to do lunch and then we have 2 more sessions in the afternoon. If you don't mind, because our guests will still be here. If there's be a very, very burning question, I'll give you an opportunity to ask them, yeah? Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Paul Inena, and I work at KU. A question, but I just want to say something very, very briefly. The question we have been trying to answer is, 1, how did we get where we are? Second question is, how do we get out of that? We all realize that actually what we are dealing with are symptoms of a big problem. So the issue of where actually how we got ourselves where we are is a complicated one, but obviously it means there is a change of values. There are certain things that over the years we have cherished. We have a mania, if I can say, for material wealth, material things. And this has taken a long time. It is very complicated. We cannot just say, this is what we are going to do, and within 1 year, we're able to deal with it. It will take time for us actually to deal with corruption, but it means our values have to change. That is really the crux of the matter. As we are here, actually all of us, we are innate. Don't blame the teachers, don't blame the parents, even actually myself, even the institutions that we have, even the ones that are struggling to deal with the corruption. So I'm saying, for us to be able to deal with this, it's not going to be easy, but at least we can start. When you have a child, and the child does not even know what it means to cheat, but it is you as a parent, at a very early stage, that you encourage that child. Not by telling, but the way you behave yourself. Then he or she goes to the school. That is also encouraged. So, after very many years, the issue of actually corruption becomes an easier thing to do. Taking things, in other words, I'm trying to say, the concept of what is right and what is wrong has changed. And therefore, all of us, all the institutions have to be actually involved. And you'll find that when we try to deal with the symptoms, you go to court, for example, and you get a judge, and you are able actually to give certain things. Then you'll be excused, you'll be, in other words, you'll be freed, even killing. It means for us to be able to deal with this menace, there has to be that change. Again, there has to be sanctions. And one example I can give is we have been hearing, people, if you are found with the corruption in China, you are going to be killed. And we feel terrible. Probably those are the kind of things that we need to change. Yes. If you do that, then the punishment is actually should be very, very severe. But so long as we have a few people who will be trying to do the right thing, and all the others don't think that that is actually valuable. Those people who are going to try and change, I must say, is a very dangerous territory. You try to fight corruption, and you find that actually in the end, you are alone. So, we have to do it, but I must say it is also dangerous. Thank you.
Ninaomba tafadhali. I've been reminded that I haven't been very gender sensitive. Tafadhali naomba swali moja tu kutoka kwa mama yetu.
Habari zenu. My name is Fatma Elmawi. I am the former Vice President of the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. I am also the founder of ABEC. ABEC stands for Africa Business Ethics Conference, which runs all over Africa, and we have had 5 conferences in Kenya and in other parts of Africa as well. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to say this. Number one, I've get crushed your meeting. I was not invited. Let me own up. But I heard you are talking ethics, so I brought myself here. Number 2, I want to say something else. We are all corrupt in this room. We are corrupt either by default or we are corrupt actively. Why do I say that? Because it is not the student that buys the exam, it's the parent and the teacher, isn't it? It is not, you don't fight with other universities because the certificates are fake. Again, I want to agree with the gentleman who says young as me, it is us. Don't fight the system, the government, the whoever. Fight you. Why? Because all of you, me included, we want our children to be engineers. We want our children to be doctors. So what do? We fake documents. We make tunawapeleka, tunawasukuma mpaka wamefika. And that is why when some of us, you are sick, you don't want to be seen by a Kenyan doctor. Why? Because you're not sure. Kama alifika ukweli ama alichukua zile panya roots. So fight you. Not everybody can be a doctor. Not everybody can be a professor. A professor needs a hairdresser, isn't it? Kama hawezi fika university, si umwache aende. A professor or a minister needs a mechanic. So not everybody can go to the university. And that's why I'm saying, fight you. You teach your children the values. We have abdicated our role. Why do you want somebody else to teach your children and not you? So ladies and gentlemen, we are here, some of us, because of what we received. But can you imagine the society we are taking 20 years from today? If God gave you that health, would you be seen 20 years from today? By this tunasukuma tu Kenyatta University wanawachukua. I also want to answer about Nairobi University. I went to Nairobi University and I got all my degrees from there. My second degree, when I went not young. And I used to sit, you know, you have to sit with young people, then you osmosis, unapata maneno nzuri. And this young lady would come, she never came for class, she never came for tutorials, and all she used to tell me, we madhe unasumbuka ya nini? Si unakaa tu hapa mbele, mguu umeweka hivi, shati umefungua paka hapa. And true to her, she got an A, and some of us got C's. Now, I train, and I've trained ESCC, but for some reason ESCC mlitutupa mkono. We have trained your people because we work with the private sector. We actually train the private sector that ethical businesses, and this is research, this is not Fatma, you make more money by almost 300% if you do your business properly. It will not be easy, Wakenya tuna haraka, okay? But you get there. I've been running my business for over 10 years. I have not corrupted even a shilling. When I get into trouble, I talk my way out of it. As you can see, I can talk. But you grow. These people who want to run fast, unakimbia kama monopoly. Wale ambao they are young, no, unakimbia kama snakes and ladders. Wale who are young like me, ukifika 99, kasneke kana kukula, unarudi chini. And that is why we are not seeing the growth Kenya should see. By virtue of who we are and what we can do and the resources we have. We take business delegations outside. As I said, I was a vice president. And people say, we love Kenya, we love Nyama Choma, you guys are good, you guys have good businesses, but you guys are corrupt. So what happens? The business that was meant to come to Kenya goes to neighboring countries. Now this is coming to shoot us in the foot because we are seeing a decline. We are seeing a decline. Mtu anapeleka avocado mara ya kwanza, mara ya pili, mara ya tatu, anapeleka mbaya, business imeisha. So for me, ladies and gentlemen, I know I asked for this opportunity. Don't fight out there. Fight internally. It is you that buys. And be prepared. Because it's not going to be easy. By the way, I got a C. And when I got a C, nilirudi university nika complain. Nikasema nilikuwa nasaidia mwalimu kusomesha. Wale wote mwapatia A, walikuwa wananiuliza mimi, can you give me my paper and we will do it. I am prepared to pay again. I got what I deserved. Thank you.
Asante madam, I'll come to you in the afternoon, I promise. Asante sana. Bwana Umbati, kuna prof hapa alikuwa ametoa comment ambayo nafikiri tumeipokea. Mama yetu Fatuma pia ni comment. So I think the gentleman had some very interesting questions. I don't know, do you want to take them up or any of you? Bwana Lokolo? Madam, please. Go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you, Nimrod. I think I can answer the one on who authenticates a certificate. Maybe if I can give what we do at NEC. Anybody can ask for authentication of certificate, but once the report is ready, it is sent to the user institution. So the report is not given to the candidate to deliver, but NEC delivers that report directly to the institution that was interested with that confirmation. So with that one, whether it is a favorable report or a negative report, the candidate themselves don't get it. They only get information either from their employer or college or whoever wants that information. That is the case scenario for NEC.
Yes.
I don't know what the rest,
Thank you.
how
Thank
they
you.
do it.
Maybe just a comment from Bon Abdallah.
Mr. Odhiambo was indicating that the Public Service Commission should have relied on the system, documents that were uploaded to the system for verification. Now, when it comes to criminal investigation, we usually rely on physical documents for further verification or examination at the forensic lab. So that's why when you are called for an interview, you'd be told upload in the system when you are applying, but when you are coming for the real interview now, you come with your original documents. And also, you should be aware that this system was installed by a human being. It is being manned by a human being. It can be manipulated by a human being. So it is not tamper-proof. Thank you.
Asante sana. Let me do it differently. I know I'd have given you a few seconds to sum up, but in the interest of time, I'd like to thank all of you. Asante sana. Makofi kwa tafadhali, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for engaging us, Madam Jen Nabiki Kashu, the Director Quality Assurance and Archives, Dr. Alice Kande, the Director General Counsel, Secretary, Kenya National Qualifications Authority, Bwana Elfas Ombati, the Assistant Director of Public Prosecutions at the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, also FCPA John Lukuno, Director Ethics and Leadership, ESCC, and also not to forget Bwana Komesha Abdallah, the Director Investigation Bureau, DCI. Asanteni sana. We'll do this again another time. We want to break for lunch. We'll go upstairs. I think it's a 5th floor. And I was hoping we could do this in half an hour, if that's not too much, so that we're back here at 2:30, and then we can have the other 2 sessions that we're meant to have later on. Sidio? Mko sawa kabisa? Mnaniahidi mtarudi? Ndio tayama nichukue roll call saa hizi. Mweze kurudi, ya? Tafadhali, tuweze kurudi around 2:30 so that we can proceed with the other 2 sessions. We'll try and be as fast as possible. But thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. Asanteni. Makofi to the panelists. Asante sana. Okay, I think the panelists will lead us, and we're requesting all of you to take your food, the meal vouchers on my right at the exit as you go to the 5th floor. Karibuni sana. Enjoy your lunch.
Yes.
Yes, sir.